Voyage at Holiday World is hands down considered to be one of the best wooden roller coasters in the entire world. It was voted best wooden roller coaster in the world by the Golden Ticket Awards from 2007 to 2011. The ride has since held up to be one of the best, if not the best, roller coaster in the entire world. This ride is just flat out a masterpiece. It has over a mile of track, and yet almost every part of the ride is still so smooth. It's just out of control the whole way. The stats are really nothing much. The ride has a height of 159 feet, with a drop of 154 feet, where you reach your max speed of 69 miles an hour, and it keeps its speed throughout its 6,400 feet of track, and it was built in 2006 for approximately $8.5 million by the Gravity Group. The Gravity Group went insane on this project, especially since it was only their second ever roller coaster, with the first one being Hades 360, or Hades at Mount Olympus. When you first enter the Thanksgiving section of Holiday World, Voyage is the first thing you see. There's a Thanksgiving sign hanging from the Voyage's brake run, then you walk up to the entrance and you see its Golden Ticket Award on the side of the building, along with a ton of switchbacks. Even though during my visit, none of the switchbacks got full, I bet at least once a season they get full. One thing I have to complain about here is the amount of times you have to go up and down in the queue. I know it's a nitpick, but there's so many stairs. Once you think you're almost there, there's another section of stairs that you have to go up and then down. When I went, the longest wait was probably about 15 minutes, so halfway through the day, they opened this door, so as soon as you walked into the building, you go to the left, and you skip almost all the stairs. So if you go on a dead day, then they probably won't make you walk up and down all the stairs. Once you make it to the station, you have the option to choose your row. And I'll be completely honest here, there is no bad seat on this ride. I got 12 rides on this amazing attraction in different seats, and all of them have their benefits. The middle of the train is a smoother ride, the front has all the wind and is like butter smooth, but the back is the best seat on the train in my opinion. Not the very back, but the second to back, just because it's smoother. You get pulled over every single element, get all the airtime, the laterals, and all the intensity you expect. When you board the train, you'll sit down on PTC trains. These trains aren't bad, but I do have a complaint because I'm an enthusiast. We always have to complain. The bar in the middle of the row that separates the two seats, like the two riders, kind of hurts the outside of my thighs on the laterals. Like, the reason is because it's not full, like, wall. It's just a bar, not a whole wall. So, like, it leaves an outline on my thighs because of all the laterals. The restraints are just okay. Sometimes it can come down in the middle of the ride, but if you can hold it up through the valleys, then you should be fine for the rest of the ride. Once you dispatch, you go into a section of straight track, then dip down and ascend the 160-foot lift hill, which for a wooden coaster moves pretty fast. In about 45 seconds, you start to go down your 154-foot drop. This drop doesn't look like anything special, but it is. On one of my back row rides, I have almost 3 hands of room, and by the way, I do not recommend doing this, having more than a hand of room. I'm just doing it because I'm an enthusiast, and I'm just irresponsible. I was basically standing up on this drop. The airtime on that drop was probably the best airtime I've ever experienced on a drop. Like, I basically held on for dear life. I was screaming, but I'm not usually one to scream, but I was screaming for dear life. The next element that you hit are these 2 back-to-back airtime hills. Now, these aren't anything compared to El Toro's Camelbacks or like Sky Rush's hills, but they're not bad either. You get sustained floater throughout the whole hill on the Camelbacks. It's similar to a B&M Hyper Camelback, like something you'd find on like Diamondback or Raging Bull. It has the same sustained moment that they do. You then get hit with a speed hill that gives good sustained floater to the whole train. Once again, this element is so smooth, but the valleys going in and out of it are probably the roughest points on the ride. These are basically the only points on the ride where you have to hold up your restraint, otherwise it'll come down drastically. Now, this is what I consider the midpoint of the first half. I know it's really weird, but this next element, aka the airtime hill, doesn't really do much. It kind of slows down really at the top, so it doesn't give any airtime. But I like how it serves as a separation point from the small, out-of-control spaghetti bowl section to the big camelbacks and like little speed hills and stuff. So once you exit the airtime hill, you enter a tunnel that starts the whole spaghetti bowl section of the ride. This part is just so out of control and insane. It starts with this twisted airtime hill that gives a good pop of ejector airtime. The ejector airtime feels different on this ride than like Steel Vengeance or something. It's not as powerful, but it's still powerful to say the least. Just don't go in expecting a really powerful moment, but not a dull one. This moment kind of serves as a double down, as another twisted airtime hill going down the hillside follows. It's basically the same moment as the one before, but going faster down the hill. They both twist in opposite directions, the first one being left to right and the second one being right to left, but they both have that same feeling and pop of ejector. It takes you into a left-hand turn that is sort of unbanked, so it serves some good laterals, but not too much to the point where it's uncomfortable. This part of the ride is crazy. You pop up into a small bunny hop, twist to the left, and pop up back into another airtime hill that's turning to the right as you're getting ejected. It's actually crazy. The moment gets me every time I ride it. This moment sort of reminds me of the first drop on Sky Rush and how I know it's there, but it still gets me every time. After this amazing moment, you go into the main part where it gets its name, the Spaghetti Bowl. The two back-to-back overbank turns. These turns are pretty forceful and both really smooth and comfortable. The first one is taken slower, but the second one is right after you go down that hill I mentioned earlier, so it's taken at a really high speed. Right after the second overbank, there's a double down. Well, it's not really a double down, but it kind of feels like it. You get thrown into a twisted airtime hill, and then another airtime hill that levels the banking out. Both of these moments are really powerful moments of airtime, and they both deliver some lateral, but it's nothing extreme. That leads you to the real midpoint of the ride, the mid-course brake run. Now, I have no idea how it runs on Hollywood Nights, as I visited the park in mid-August, but if this mid-course is off, I feel like that second half would be too much. As soon as you get to the mid-course, you get met with a triple down, which picks up so much speed, so if you don't slow down in the mid-course, you might be going too fast through that second half. Once you're out of the tunnel, you go into this pure floater airtime hill. This is just a smaller version of the bigger two at the beginning of the ride. Now, this is when the fun starts. I know the whole ride before this was fun, but this return trip is absolutely incredible. It's so smooth that it feels like the smoothest wooden coaster on the planet in the second half. What I recommend doing is closing your eyes. I know that sounds really weird, but it just throws you around everywhere. I was screaming so loud when I closed my eyes, and I'm not one to scream like I said earlier, but once you close your eyes, it actually gets really scary. You get thrown into the speed hill that delivers a good bit of floater, which leads into another twisted airtime hill. It's not really a twisted airtime hill, but for the purpose of this, I'm calling it that because I don't know what else to call it. You level out and go into another twisted airtime hill that delivers a good sustained pop of ejector airtime while throwing you to the side. The laterals at this moment of the ride are insane. This is because the element following the twisted airtime hill is this large, almost unbanked turn that runs alongside Splash and Safari. The laterals on this turn are probably some of the best laterals on any roller coaster ever built. It feels like the turn goes on forever. You just get pushed to one side of the car at this point of the ride. You kind of just let the ride do its thing and not fight against it. Another overbank follows this turn, with this one being just as good as the one earlier in the ride. And then there's another near unbanked turn similar to the one that I just described, but just a lot shorter. Then you come up into, in my opinion, the best moment of the ride. This airtime hill, that twist coming out of it. You get a sharp sustained moment of ejector on every row of the train. This has to be one of the best airtime moments ever on any roller coaster. The airtime is so powerful and good. The laterals on this airtime hill are insane too. You just get ejected and thrown to the side at the same time. It's sort of like the Outer Bank, but before RMC did them. It has the same feeling and laterals, but was built way before RMC did anything like it. You then dive under the queue line and come back into a true twisted airtime hill with a good pop of ejector similar to the ones earlier in the ride, but this one's the best on the ride. Also similar to the last element, the laterals on this element are insane. You get thrown to the side so hard, but it's pretty weird because if you look at them banking at the turn, it's like almost 90 degrees, if not 90 degrees. But you still get thrown to the side so hard. You go back under the pathway, this one being the pathway you walk under to get into the Thanksgiving section, rise back up, bank to the right into a small little airtime pop that gives a little pop of floater. It's nothing crazy, but still a some bite. You turn and rise up into the brakes to conclude your ride on Voyage. This ride is absolutely insane and never lets up. The pacing is absolutely amazing. I don't know how they can make a ride that fast for that long without being tall. Gravity Group put together one of the best roller coasters ever built. All the elements hit, the ride is so smooth for being a Woody, and the forces are insane. So that's why I'm giving Voyage a 10 out of 10 score. If I could go above the max, I'd give it like a 17 or 18 out of 10. It is just insane, and if you're an enthusiast, I recommend at one point in your life, you come out and ride this thing. It is truly an amazing experience and one of the best roller coasters ever built.